It's a lot of feel good and not do good policy.
Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everyone. I'm Cypher.
And I'm Fox. Last year, Canada banned single-use plastics everywhere, which included grocery bags, plastic straws, and other items. The argument was that Canadians should be using more environmentally friendly alternatives, such as the cotton-based bags that are supplied at Walmart.
However, the application and justification of this law hasn't really gone as planned. And people are asking, is this new world without single plastics really more environmentally friendly? Let's take a look.
That crinkling sound at the checkout is gone, replaced by the quieter cotton alternative. Plastic bags are now relics in grocery stores, with customers reaching for reusable instead.
Everybody's just going to get used to it. So, yeah, I think it's the right way to go. And
Canadians use a staggering 15 billion plastic bags every year. They can take 1,000 years to disintegrate. That's why provinces and cities have already brought in their own plastic bag bans, all in an effort to stop littering landscapes and clogging waterways.
If we went to Lake Ontario right now at Toronto Harbour, we would find something like 20 million little pieces of plastic in a square kilometre.
Canada is the latest country to introduce a ban on single-use plastic. The UK, Australia, and India have all introduced similar measures. But there are questions about whether the alternatives are as green as we think.
There are some customers, like seniors or students, that forget their bags, either in their dorm or seniors forget them at home.
Every time customers forget, the reusable bags pile up.
Sitting around, I would say about 10, and we've had to clear out.
York University professor Calvin Lacken researches waste management and says the ban will have unintended consequences.
It's a lot of feel good and not do good policy.
A United Nations study found the alternatives take more energy and carbon to make. Cotton bags need to be used up to 150 times before they're considered more environmentally friendly. For reusable plastic bags, that number is 20. Paper bags cut down on litter, but in most cases have a larger impact on the climate.
Paper decomposes and releases all of that methane and or embodied carbon.
And shoppers may wind up buying more plastic products to line their garbage cans or pick up after pets.
Some single-use plastics are absolutely bad and some are actually really great. But in order to figure that out, we need to actually do the work. We can't just assume one way or the other.
Questions about whether banning single-use plastic is a double-edged sword.
The federal court agreed with these critics and decided to overturn Trudeau and Guilbeault's ban on these products, as outlined in a Global News article published today. From the article, the federal court overturned Canada's ban on single-use plastic on Thursday, deeming the policy, quote, unreasonable and unconstitutional, end quote. The decision found that the classification of plastics in the cabinet order was too broad to be listed on the list of toxic substances in Schedule 1, and the government acted outside of its authority. Quote, there is no reasonable apprehension that all listed plastic manufactured items are harmful, end quote, the decision read. The decision has essentially quashed a cabinet order that listed plastic manufactured items such as plastic bags, straws, and takeout containers as toxic under the Canadian Environmental Protection Act. Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault said in his statement that the federal government is, quote, strongly considering an appeal, end quote, of the decision. Quote, Canadians have been loud and clear that they want action to keep plastic out of our environment, end quote, he said. Quote, we will have more to say on next steps soon, end quote.
The decision has implications for the government's ban on 6 single-use plastic items. The government is only able to regulate substances for environmental protection if they are listed as toxic under CEPA. The decision found that it was not reasonable to say all plastic manufactured items are harmful because of the category is too broad. The regulations banning plastic items are already being phased in, with a ban on manufacturing and importing 6 different categories already in place, and a full ban on their sale and export planned by the end of 2025. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith said in a statement that the decision, quote, demonstrates a continued pattern of federal overreach intended to subvert the constitutionally protected role and rights of provinces, end quote, and that the ban has had, quote, wide-reaching consequences for Alberta's economic interests, end quote. She said the ban has put thousands of jobs and billions of investments at risk. Quote, Alberta is proudly home to Canada's largest petrochemical sector, a sector worth more than $18 billion in recently announced projects that were needlessly put in jeopardy by a virtue-signaling federal government with no respect for the division of powers outlined in the Canadian Constitution, end quote, she said. She urges the federal government not to appeal the decision. The case was brought by the Responsible Plastic Use Coalition and several chemical companies that manufacture plastics. So, here's the thing. This sounds like just another piece of legislation like the carbon tax. On the surface, they do a photo op, they wave the boogeyman material around and tell everybody, oh, it's a terrible thing. But here's the thing. I'm sure all of you, like Fox and I, have come across things like this. When you buy something from the store and it comes in a plastic bag over a piece of cardboard, and then you open that, and then you open the cardboard, and then you take the product out of the piece of cardboard and it's wrapped in plastic. Now, why are companies not being forced to repackage differently, and we as the consumer are being forced to just change the way we actually take the products home? Well, the answer to that is it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to say no more plastic bags.
Well, and it doesn't piss off as many manufacturers. I mean, I'm sure manufacturers of plastic bags and plastic straws are not having a good time. But this is the thing I don't understand. So before, I used to go grocery shopping and would take home the food in a plastic bag, and then we would use that plastic bag to either line the garbage can or we would use it to scoop the cat litter. So it's not a single-use plastic. It clearly has another use after it takes the groceries home. Now, because we're not in a place where we can put kitty litter in the green bin, so we have to put it in plastic in the garbage, I have to go and buy plastic bags for the specific purpose of cleaning the cat box. How does that make any sense?
Yeah, it's stupid. It is beyond stupid. And the other thing is that you have all of these people that they go grocery shopping, they forget to take their bags with them. So then what do? Well, some people just say, well, I have too many groceries. I guess I have to buy more cotton bags. And then you end up with this massive collection of cotton bags that you can only use for groceries. That's it.
Well, and again, going on the grocery thing, I don't like to take my food home, or I should say I don't like to take my meat home in a cotton bag. And if I do, it goes straight in the wash. Because there have been cases of people getting foodborne illnesses from reusing the same cotton bag on produce, for example, that they have previously had meat in.
Right, because it holds bacteria a hell of a lot more than a plastic bag does. Right? So never mind the fact that the carbon needed to produce that cotton bag, as you saw in that video, is a hell of a lot higher than a plastic bag. So looking at that article, technically, plastic bags have a lower impact on the environment.
And the other thing that drives me nuts, we've heard us say before that our son is, special needs, and he has a very difficult time with the paper straws. He doesn't understand he's not supposed to chew on them. And so when he gets a paper straw, it just turns to mush almost immediately. So I've gotten used to just carrying around silicone straws in my purse for him. But there have been times where he's needed a straw, and either I didn't have my purse with me, or maybe he was with his grandma who didn't know. And he gets very frustrated very easily because he cannot use a paper straw.
Yeah, and even adults have a difficult time with them, never mind kids. So, they talk about, well, there's all this plastic everywhere. Well, here's the thing. Most of the shots that they were showing weren't of plastic bags. It was other manufactured plastic that they use. So if they really want to do something positive for the environment, they need to sit down and really think about it and not just, grab something and say, this sounds like a good headline and then run with it, because that's all the Liberals seem to do.
Well, that's it exactly. Their press conferences are their policies. They don't think about it before they get to the podium, and they don't really think about it after. They don't think about the impact. They just say what sounds good for the cameras, and then that's the policy.
Right. How many times have you seen Trudeau say something which sounds like policy, and then all of his ministers behind them look extremely surprised, and then they're like, okay, I guess we have to make that work. You can't run the country from a press podium, but that's all Trudeau seems to know how to do.